Challenge for Change was a project that was started by the Canadian Film Board, the National Film Board of Canada. And the idea was to try out the new video equipment that had just been developed to see how it could be used to help communities communicate. And George Stoney was one of those hired to do that work.
They brought me to Canada to show students and their staff people how to work with sponsors to continue that work.
To inform the people in Saint-Jacques about their clinic and to involve them in the future of the committee, the citizens felt the need for better communication. But the established media are not accessible to ordinary people, especially the poor. We, therefore, asked ourselves this question: what could happen if the people had the technology of communications in their own hands?
Bon, écoute, on s'aperçoit quand on attend quelques minutes puis ça ne devient pas blanc quand on a oublié d'enlever ça. On l'enlève. Et quand tu appuies avec là, oui, il y a une petite lumière rouge qui commence à l'intérieur et tu vois que tu es en train de filmer.
We wanted to demonstrate what the new porta packs could do.
Pourquoi la couverture c'est une esquisse?
Non, parce qu'il y a des batteries à l'intérieur et puis le froid empêche les batteries de donner leur plein rendement. Puis à ce moment-là, le travail n'est pas aussi bon.
Vous dites que vous venez au bien-être social pour des verres?
Des verres.
Est-ce que le bien-être social leur fournit quelque chose?
Because you see, before video came along, it was film. And film was very expensive and also required much more professional knowledge.
At the same time, there was a lot of cable being strung in cities in the United States. And George was familiar with that and said, why don't we have a process whereby the cities and towns will be required to have community access to television?
It's a labor viewpoint in San Francisco. A program about home birth in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Wear short agendas, they often turn into long meetings.
Live, gavel-to-gavel coverage of city council meetings in hundreds of cities.
And by the way, we drained this tank of water so that I won't drown.
Making home repairs in Dayton, Ohio. In Roxbury, Massachusetts, it's a program made by teenagers fighting violence in their neighborhood.
One got stabbed. He was in critical condition.
You see, in this land of free speech, the dying are supposed to go quietly for the sake of the living.
A place to speak out on the AIDS crisis.
So we started in Manhattan, and we also started with something called the Alternate Media Center at NYU.
Stoney co-founded the Alternate Media Center, along with another Canadian filmmaker from Challenge for Change named Red Burns. In 1972, Stoney and Red Burns worked with the FCC to require cable providers to allow channels to be set aside for public use.
And cable companies were at that time looking for material to cause people to subscribe.
It became a selling point to get the monopoly of a city and the rights of way. That's really what public access is.
The commercial interests don't always run parallel to community interests. And when you're telling a story and you have independent voices telling a story, you don't want to be necessarily beholden to commercial interests. If it's about the community, there should be unfiltered, free speech that can happen when there is so much mass media produced that is commercial.
Public access provides an opportunity for many different groups and individuals who otherwise can't hear their voice can't get their point of view across in the traditional media to get their point of view across.
ACT UP began in 1987 at the recognition that collective action was needed to fight government indifference to and media misrepresentation of the AIDS crisis.
This is no time for congratulations. This is no time to turn your back. This is no time for circumlocution. This is no time.
It seems that public access can also be used for advocacy, just like our show about the blind. One group that embodies this aspect of public access today is NYFAC.
New York Families for Autistic Children is a service provider agency working with children with developmental disabilities and autism. G'day. Welcome to New York Families for Autistic Children's TV show, Spotlight Autism. My name is Andrew Bauman, and I'll be your host. I'm the parent of a child with autism, and every day is a struggle. Every day is a challenge. Every day is something new. It doesn't matter whether my child was 3, 5, 10, 15, or 18 now. We still struggle every day.
Let's talk about the episode you filmed with Andrew.
My
back
son.
In 2002, your other son.
Yeah.
Wonderful child.
Yeah, my son Andrew. Great opening in that show.
Yeah. He, tell me about that moment. I mean,
I cried after that show. I was in tears after I did that show. Today we have a very, very special guest on the show with us, and I'd like to introduce him. And his name is?
Andrew Bauman.
Andrew Bauman. My name is Andrew Bauman.
My name is Andrew Bauman.
Well, that must mean that you're my
son.
Well, this is my son, Andrew Bauman, and I'm very, very pleased and happy that Andrew could be part of this show and a guest on the show today. And that's how we started talking about siblings. Do you help teach Anthony? Are you sure about that? Because I think you really do.
How? I don't know how I teach him.
Do you show him different ways to do things? And you're not going to get that from any reporter, because a reporter is cold, calculated, reports a story, facts, stick to the facts, stick to the fact, no emotional attachment. You are most definitely a great brother, and you are a great son, and I am so happy and glad that you agreed to come on the show with me today. I mean, public access is a place where individuals like me and organizations like mine and people that are kind at heart use to get out a message. And that message is hope, that message is education, that message is opportunity, that message is so positive and so full of joy and celebration that we should celebrate the fact that there is a public access.